I bet you clicked on this video because you either think you have mold toxicity or you just found out that you did and now you're thinking, now what do I do? I've been in that same boat, and so I wanted to share what's been helping me the most lately, which has been a diet change. Now, I was eating really healthy to start or before all this, and I was still having migraines, I was having acne or breakouts on my skin, and I was having energy crashes or fatigue. And so I was like, what the heck am I doing wrong? And what I found out by listening to what my body's trying to tell me is I could make a few small changes and really hone in my diet to help me prepare for this next stage of my mold detox, which is going to be my gut detox. First things first, what I was eating before this was a very healthy diet already by most people's standards. So it was only a whole foods diet, meaning fruits, vegetables, clean protein sources, nothing processed. I wasn't doing any added sugar other than natural sugars like honey, and I still was having problems. So what I did is tweak a few things. I started with an elimination diet, which is where for 4 weeks I ate pretty strict in only a few things to let my body kind of recalibrate. So I eliminated all possible things that could be irritating my system, which would be histamine foods, which can bother people with mold, and I'll get more into that. And then I cut out all added sweeteners or sugars of any kind, including fruit and sweet potatoes and honey. That was about my only sources of added sugars. And what I noticed over those 4 weeks was my skin cleared up. I had better sustained energy. I was actually sleeping a little better as well, and I wasn't having as many migraines. What did happen, and I think from maybe going a little too low calorie or too low carb, was I was having some muscle twitching, when a part of your face or your leg just twitches randomly. I was noticing that quite a bit more, and then I was also noticing some bone aches. My bones were kind of achy, not muscle fatigue or muscle soreness. It was my bones. I would even wake up in the night with sore bones in my legs and my arms. And so what I deduced is maybe I was too low calorie or too low carb. So about week 4 or 5, I added back in Japanese sweet potatoes, just a small serving of them, and saw how I felt with that. And I actually felt good. I felt like all of those symptoms went away, and I had a better kind of energy throughout the day than I even had before. The next thing I added in was a small amount of berries. So I started with raspberries and some yogurt, which you have to be careful because yogurt can be a histamine triggering food because it's fermented or it's aged. It's got probiotics in it. But I do coconut yogurt because I can't do dairy. I'm actually allergic. So I did some yogurt with some raspberries, and I tolerated that fine. So right now, the only added starchy foods or things that I have in my diet are just the sweet potatoes and then some berries with yogurt. Now, I did try and introduce back in a really clean protein source, which is Equip Protein, and I actually love their products. The only one that I could do with this diet was the one sweetened with stevia, and I did that for a little bit, and it's actually started to trigger some migraines and some stomach upset. So I'm just going to cut that from my diet completely again until I can get all of this mold detoxed from my system because it's just not agreeing with me right now. The reason that I'm making these changes is sometimes when you have mold colonized in your system, you can be more susceptible, or you also have candida. And with candida, it can feed off of sugary foods, even the healthy ones. And when that feeds off of it, it can trigger inflammation throughout your body, which can cause the things like breakouts, headaches, and energy crashes or poor sleep. So I noticed a huge difference when I cut all of those things out and was mostly just eating broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, green beans, chicken, and grass-fed beef. Oh, and eggs. The other reason that can sometimes that sugars or fruits or these things can cause problems for people is just because it can cause inflammation in your body from blood sugar swings. So if you have a sugar or a fruit source or anything like that, while it's not inherently bad, if you have it by itself, it can cause your blood sugar to rise just a little bit and then drop, which can stress your body out and cause inflammation. And when you have mold in your system, you're already susceptible to you're already susceptible to a stressed system, and so that can just even be a little too much for us in our bodies. Now, the biggest thing that's been helping me is listening to my own body. So there are some foods that are like quote unquote high histamine foods, and I can tolerate them okay. And sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. Like sometimes I can have lemon water in the morning, and then sometimes that just like sets me over and I have kind of a histamine flare. So you need to listen to your body, which is why an elimination diet at first is good to kind of reset your calibration level and then slowly add things back in and just see how you feel with them. Now, to get back to what I was saying, with these foods, they're not bad foods. They're just maybe not great for your body right now. With the candida and possibly, the mold in the possible candida, it might just be best to pause those things for now and kind of give your body a chance to just lower inflammation and not feed that candida in your system. So if you are dealing with or think you're dealing with any mold or candida issues, I would start with diet and just see how your body responds to it. Now, I'm not going to lie, it's not easy. I think diet changes are one of the hardest things to do unless you wrap your brain around the fact that you need to give your body what it needs to heal from whatever you're dealing with. And that was a big key perspective shift for me, is thinking about how I need to fuel my body to heal from this and not give it the things that are going to make the situation worse. Once I kind of made that shift of when I eat this food, it makes me feel worse or it's doing my body harm, it was easier for me to just make that decision of okay, right now I am a person that does not eat added sugar, that doesn't eat sweets, that needs to fuel my body in a way to help it get over this. And that's actually what made me switch to such a strict diet and be able to follow it without any slip-ups. So I'm hoping that's helpful to some of you out there that might be going through something similar. Biggest takeaway is try some things and listen to your body and see how it responds, because it's going to tell you what it needs and what it likes best, and then just give it time. It's not going to be an overnight fix and it's not going to be a cure-all, but it can be one step that can help you get closer to your end goal of healing. So stick around if you want to see how the rest of this diet is going. And I'll be back with more tips on what's working in my mold toxicity journey, and maybe that can help you too. So thank you for watching.